Hello again, everyone. Last time we presented a motivation for using functions, and we said functions are devices that can be used over and over and over without having to create them or do the work that you've already done. If you've already done it once, you can use it all over your programs. And I've given you a metaphor, and I mentioned suppose that you want to watch TV. You don't create a TV every time you want to watch a TV. What you need to do is to buy a TV from the factory, and then every time you want to watch a TV, you plug and play. Last time we also we've given this example of a very simple function here that doesn't interact with the outside world and doesn't produce data back to the outside world. The function here basically accepts everything embedded inside from an input function. It doesn't accept any parameters. That's what I mean. It doesn't really interact with the outside world. Everything is embedded into the function, and the function doesn't return any values. It only prints something on the screen. It doesn't give us anything to work with after um, the um, the message has been printed on the screen. We talked about the actual implementation of the function, the creation of the device. And now if we want to see what the device can do for us, we have to call the device by its name, like that. And this is how we say plug and play the device so we can see what's going on. So if I am going to run this, like that, is going to ask me to enter my name. What is your name? I'm gonna say Lucy, like that, and then the program is going to print the name Lucy that I entered on the screen. Um, Anyways, if we run this one more time, um, what is your name? Jack. And then Jack is going to be printed on the screen. So as you can see, the function doesn't really accept any parameters or anything from the outside world. Everything is already embedded into the function here. So a function like this is considered the most basic function that ever exists. A function that doesn't take any parameters, doesn't take any variables from the outside world, and doesn't return anything. And let me give you another one here, a much simpler one. A function that just say hello world, hello world, hello people, like that. And this function is going to just have a print function, a print statement here that would say hello world or hello people, like that. So as you can see, the function did not accept anything from the outside world. When I mean outside world, I mean outside the body of the function. The function here, this is the body of the function. After this colon here, this is the body. The function doesn't take anything to contribute to the body and doesn't return anything. Let me see. Why do I have two different functions here? Yeah, because we what we need to do is to call the function here, like that. And if we actually comment this out so we can focus on the what this function is doing, is going to say hello people, whatever the print statement here is showing me. Clearly we only see what we put in the body of the function. Suppose I want the name to be coming from the outside world, and I want this function to accept a person's name. So instead of saying hello people, I want the function to say hello to the person that is meant to be greeted. Suppose you're sitting in a room and I don't know, maybe you have a device, maybe you have a Alexa device, and then you walk into the room, and every time you walk into the room, Alexa recognizes you by your voice and then say, hello, Mr. This, hello, Miss That, hello, young lady, hello, gentlemen, if there are a group of people. So a device like this can be coded in the most basic way. Now what we need to do is to pass the name of the person that is going to be greeted, and we're gonna call it here inside the body of the function. So now if I want to make this name generic and make this name kind of a placeholder for any name that walks into the room, then I need to pass it within these parentheses as, and this is what we basically call the parameter list. And the parameters are essentially the input function, the input to the function that is going to be used inside the body of the function here, so the function can operate on it. So as you can see now, that name here has been passed to the print statement. Now if I want to call um, the function here, I could do this. I could pass as a possibility Sandy, like that. This is gonna be the name. Say Alexa recognize the name of the person walking into the room, and it happens to be Sandy. So it's gonna say hello, and then whatever name that we entered here is going to be printed in this print statement. Let's see. So as you can see here, we printed Sandy. We could have a few print statements. Um, these are not the print statements that I'm hoping for. Sorry. So can put Layla's name here. So we can say hello Sandy, hello Layla. And then also another name, Brian. Brian comes really handy. I don't know why. So now we're gonna see three different statements here. Every one of them is customized based on the name that I entered. This is one way to pass the parameter. Another way to pass the parameter to the same function here is to accept it from the keyboard using the input function like that. Enter your name like this. And the function here is supposed to be accepting the name from the keyboard. So I'm going to store it into a variable like that. And I am going to call this function, the function that says hello people. And I'm going to pass that name as a parameter here to the function. And whatever name that I'm going to be entering is whatever name that I'm going to be printing here. So I'm going to comment these parse these a couple of lines out, comment them out, and then for some reason I don't know why I'm having, yes. So now I have oops, well I cannot comment this function out because I need it, but I'm gonna comment this out. So now I'm gonna move this up here so you guys don't get confused. Now there is the function definition, and this is the function how we call it and how we work with it. So if I run this, I'm supposed to be executing the first statement, which is accepting the name from the keyboard, and then here's the name. I don't know. Can anyone give me a name? I hear somebody saying Sandra. Okay, so now the function here called Sandra. I could also call this function multiple times, and I run it, and it's going to be executed twice. So enter the name here is we entered Sandra, and the second name is Emily, like that. Somebody could argue and say, well, last time you told us that you really did not want to write these components over and over. Well, that is very true, but guess what? This part here that has been printing is the part that we don't have to do over and over. And these input streams or these input functions here become they are kind of crutches to get you to see how these ideas are implemented and how you can understand how do you accept, for instance, some input from the keyboard. But ideally in the future, when you actually work with real applications, these components are never going to be inputs like that. They could be like data records exist in a database, or it could be like a form. Say you want to enter person's first name and last name. So there will be a form that accepts a first name and then also accept a last name as well, like that. Enter your last name, and here's enter your first name. So suppose now there is a form. The form will still accept your name like that. And now we are going, what we can do now is to work with these two names. So suppose I want to enter my first name first, like that. And I want to have the first name separated by a space, like that. And then I want to enter my last name, like that. So if I enter, um, so Ryan, um, Ryan what? Um, I cannot come up with a last name. Ryan Wheeland, like that. So clearly we are having some issues here. Not sure what the issues are. Yes, I know what the issues are. As you can see, we kind of done something that we were not supposed to do. We enter three different things when the function is actually expecting one different thing. So what I actually meant to do is to work with these guys. So I'm gonna create something called full name, like that. And I'm going to construct the full name from the two different names that are entered from the keyboard. And then I'm going to pass that full name here. So this is what I meant to do. I just did it differently. That happens all the time. So now if I am going to enter the last name, Ryan Whelan, like that. So now it takes these two names and then it print them and then constructs a full name. Clearly, this also can be done inside that function. The function could take could take two different names instead of one, and work with them, and then I should have something back as a full name. So now we're starting to take a look at what the function could potentially do, could potentially accept, and that could also potentially return. So let me take this example and then transform it into something that might work better. So I'm gonna keep the function that says hello people here, like that. And this function is going, let me see, this function is going to accept first name, like that, and is going to accept last name, like that. Now we can print the function first name, and then we'll print a space as well. So the first name and last name are not connected to each other, and I can show you what that means. And then last name, like this. And if I run this function like that, with first name Ryan and last name Wheeland, like that, then as you can see, my function here printed this. So suppose that I really don't want to print anything. Suppose that all I want is to get that last name from these two names and just give it back. That's all I want. Is that something that we can do? Absolutely. So now we graduated from passing a single argument or single parameter here into passing two different parameters at the same time. Okay, now I don't want to, excuse me, I don't want to print, but I want to construct a full name. Here's what we can do. I'm going to have a full name variable, full name, like that. And I am going to take the first name, like this, and I'm going to use something called concatenation. Concatenation is essentially putting things together if they are strings, or actually even numbers, but they have to be converted into strings. So this is concatenation. When you concatenate, which means putting things together, like montaging things. So we want to put the first name alongside with the last name, like that. And this is going to give me to be concatenated, and then they're going to be blended together. They give me something called a full name. So now if I don't want to print this name, this thing here, and all I want is to give it back to whoever needs it. Somebody wants to get the full name of a person from the first and last name. That's easy to do. We can do a return function, a return statement here, like that. And this return statement is going to return me the full name that I constructed from the first name and last name. So I'm just going to get rid of this here, like that. And remember now, this function is going to return something to me. So when it returns something, it's like you're going to have something to hold it, to keep it in. So what I need here is another variable. Remember that this full name here is inside the function, is not visible from the outside world. So what I need to do is to declare a full name here, and that will be the container that will get back the full name of the two names that I entered here from the keyboard. And remember, if I do this like that, nothing happens, except that this function has become in the memory, but I didn't use it. So if I want to call this function, I have to comment it out and I have to call it, right? I have to pass the actual first name and last name, whichever parameters that the function is expecting. And you realize also, if the function is expecting one parameter, we cannot pass more than one. If the function is expecting two parameters, then we should be passing two parameters. Now the function is also returning something back to me, so I have to have it stored in a variable of a sort. And if I do this, remember, nothing is going to happen. Why is that? Because I took this name here coming out of the function that operated on the first and last name that I passed, but I did not do anything with that name. That name was just there. So if we want to see the full name, we have to print it, so we can actually see what we're doing. So I'm gonna grab that full name that resulted from the function call that took two different parameters here, Ryan Wieland, the first and last name, and now I'm gonna print it, and let's see what's gonna happen. Very good. So now we can see Ryan Wieland because we printed the full name here. Suppose I want to have another function that doesn't work this way. I want to have the last name first and then comma the first name. So I'm going to use the same function here, but I'm going to call it a different name. I'm going to call it full name, or maybe build full name. Build full name. So now I'm going to build the full name from the last name, and then I want to have a comma, and then I want to have the first name. So the name will so what I really want to see in this function, that the format of the full name will be, say, if I'm working with a person, his name is Ryan Wieland, I want to see Wieland like that, Wiland, comma, and then Ryan, like that. That is the format that I want to see. And clearly here, by putting the first name, by putting the last name, then separated by comma, and then I concatenated them I added them together, building that new whole full name from the components of first name and last name. Then I will be able to see this if I return the full name like that. Now if I actually call this function here, and I'm going to comment this out so it doesn't confuse you. Now I want to build the full name to actually print the last name comma first name. So if I run this now, if I call the function and I pass the same number of arguments in whatever order, as long as I construct them differently here. That's all that matters. What matters is not the order here. What matters is what you do with the order. But also be sure that if you meant for this, for the first argument to be a first name, don't pass the last name to the first name, because it will look really weird. It won't give you the exact results that we're looking for. So by doing this, I am expecting to see Wieland, comma Ryan, like that, and it indeed shows me that I got in the last name here as Wieland, comma Ryan. And I'm gonna do another one. Um, so Jack Russell, RUSSEL, like that. So now I want to see Jack Russell, and this is supposed to give me this guy and that guy together, but it will be Russell, comma Jack, Wieland, comma Ryan. Let me do that one more time. Indeed. So now I have Wieland, comma Ryan, and then Russell, comma Jack. So we've seen now a function that doesn't take any parameters and doesn't return anything. We've seen a function that takes a single parameter when we actually printed the name. We've seen a function that takes two parameters and doesn't return anything at all. We've also seen this one, except this one did not have a return statement. And now we also seen a function that takes more than one parameter and return and work with these parameters, does something interesting with them. Well, granted, putting the last name before the first name is not very interesting, but I mean it's a one step further from just printing whatever values that people are entering from the keyboard or for passing into the parameters. Here we build the full name, and then we took the two parameters, and then we returned a return value from the function. So this function here is really promoting the idea of using parameters and return values. We will continue some more with different kinds of functions, with different kind of parameters, different kinds of return values. So stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.